Hi there. It's New Year's Eve, and I was just looking at the colours behind me, which don't look right for some reason. But anyway, it's 2023, and we have a few people already commented, which is great. No Richard today. He's been taking a well-earned break. Building his empire has taken a lot out of him. So he's back on the 2nd of January in 2024. So it's just little old me for the moment. And also, we're going to be joined by Jonathan, Carnivore Muscle, and which is great, actually. I think he's here already. So he's got the link. If he wants to pop in, he can. I was going to sort of say come in at 20 past or whatever, and I could just rattle on. But if Jonathan's here and he wants to pop in, that's great. Let's have a look at some of the messages. It's a shame, like I say, about Richard. So there might be a few people switching off because they've tuned in just to see Rich, which is fair enough. But there you go. If you want to say things like Matthew, Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks, Stephen and Richard, for all your brilliant videos and content this year. That's a really nice thing to say, Matthew. And thank you for all your contributions, mate. It doesn't make any difference to this show if I'm good, if no one's watching. So, it's a two-way thing. So then we've got Jonathan here, Carnivore Muscle, saying hello. So that's good. What else have we got? We've got Selena. Hello from blustery South Wales. It's been a bit windy, has it? It's been rainy here and cold, but there you go. And we have Andy 828. All the names, I recognize them all. All the best for 2024. Thank you, Andy. Same to you. I think it's going to be a good year, personally. And we've got someone in Australia. The Primal Timeline. Good morning from Australia. Now, I'm assuming, if I'm right, Australia is already in 2024, but I could be wrong. I think it's very unfair that the Australians always get to do it first. Maybe it's our turn to do it first. But anyway, right. Now, I'm not going to pronounce this name right. Noah. But anyway, Happy New Year. Couldn't think of anywhere else I'd want to be. That's really nice. You can't hear the audio, is someone saying. That's Cud Kiddy. Can't hear the audio. Well, I don't know about why that is. I think the microphone's switched on. I'm sure the microphone is switched on. And I think that Jonathan heard me because I said you're on later. So I don't know. So if anyone else can tell me if they can hear me or not, that would be very handy, because I don't want to be standing here and rabbiting on and no one can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me out there? Audio is fine. Thank you, Blake. That's good. So Jonathan's saying the audio is working. I have no idea, Kiddy, why you can't hear the audio. But I do apologize. Yep, another one saying they can hear me. The sound is awesome. This is good. So yeah, I don't know what it is. So right, thank you. That's great. Lots and lots of feedback. Not feedback on the sound, by the way, but feedback on the fact you can hear me, which is really good. So I think one of the great things about the end of the year is you can look back at Jonathan said, what are your goals for 2024? What are my goals for 2024? Any aspect? Well, I was actually going to get to that. Last year, I was doing World Carnivore Month. So that's something this year I shall be doing, which I think is great. Invented by Dr. Sean Baker. These things are worth looking at. We've got on the app a 2024 World Carnivore Month app, which is like a 30-day thing for you to follow. So if anyone hasn't downloaded the Carnivore Experience app, just go to Apple or Google and type in the Carnivore Experience and download it. Just a little trick for you. Because of the way Apple and Google charge, the easiest way to do this is to download the app, and then when it says get instant access, just go down to the bottom and click learn, and you'll get straight in for nothing, because they try to push all the paid for stuff, which I understand. It helps me, but if you want to look at it for nothing, then you do that. You don't see everything, but you see ever such a lot. There's hours and hours of free videos and podcasts and articles and training programs to try out, everything there. Just click learn at the bottom once you get there. So anyway, yeah, download that from Google or Apple. That'd be really good. What are my goals for 2024? Well, I'd rather do a little retrospect first. And that is, this time last year, I can remember thinking about my YouTube channel and whether I would get any more subscribers. It was ever so slow. And I thought the content was good. And then we did the Carnivore-a-thon, the 24-hour live stream. We had some great guests on, and I really thought that would make a big difference. Thought we'd have tons of subscribers. This is not get your little violin out and feel sorry for me. And we didn't. We got a lot of views, and then all of a sudden, in the last couple of months, it's really taken off. So that was good. So my goal, I actually got to my goal when it comes to sort of like the content here, and that is we got to 10,000 subscribers, I think 13 days ago, and now I'm at 11,000. So thank you for all the support and subscribing. Believe it or not, only 22% of people that watch these videos subscribe. So by my reckoning, that's about 77% of people watching this don't subscribe. So if you could, it really helps the channel, because it just means that more of the videos will go out there. And if you're a big supporter of carnivore or low carb or ketogenic diets, and you feel that there's just too much about the mainstream or veganism or vegetarianism or lots of myths about meat, and it does upset you, one of the easiest ways is to subscribe to the channels that talk about carnivore, low carb, or keto. So subscribe to people like Jonathan's Carnivore Muscle, he's coming on later, so we'll be able to talk a bit about that. People like Colt Milton, these people that are up and coming. Rich's channel. Rich has been broadcasting ever such a lot for a long time, and really just needs to have more followers. But anyway, right, let's just go back to the messages. Kate C, Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you, Kate. That's really good. Cud Kitty. Okay, I'm back in. Must have been my end. Right, okay. I'm glad you can hear now. Once a week, man. Happy New Year every single time I see that name. Sandra McChannel. Like that. Happy New Year. That's very good. What are your views on mushrooms? Not the magic variety. Well, in what respect? I wouldn't eat mushrooms. Mushrooms don't like me. I like mushrooms, but they don't like me. So that's the first thing. They give me a bit of gas, and I don't really like that. I used to think they were great. I just thought gas was a normal thing that blokes did, especially blokes. And since I've been low carb, and since I've been ketogenic, and especially since I've been carnivore, no gas. And I know that the veg is a problem, because if I ever think, oh, look at that leek, I used to like leeks, I'll try that leek, I get gas. If I tried a mushroom, I did try a beef mushroom. They call it beef mushroom in Britain, big mushroom. And yep, same thing. Stop eating them. I don't have gas. I ate one, and the next day, 24 hours, it was, oh boy, I know what's caused this. So, but if you can tolerate them and you enjoy them, if you want them to be helping you with vitamin D, you can put them on the windowsill and get some sunlight in there and bump up the vitamin D a little bit. But personally, not a fan of any of the veg now or any of the plant material. So, but that's my views. I understand why some people like them, but I don't find them beneficial. And most people I coach don't actually. So Jay, Happy New Year. Thank you very much. Jay's just subscribed. So my plea has worked. It didn't fall on deaf ears. That's good. Mushrooms are toxic, and their vitamin D is not vitamin D3. That's true. So your body has to work hard to convert it. So that's great. Jay, that's great. Lots and lots of messages. So I can't put them all up. But anyway, I spent 22 years on a high fiber cruciferous diet and thought loud, painful, stinky gas was normal. Yeah, you see, this is the thing. It is normalized. That's the problem. And it's even to the point where, it's like humor, like lots of comedians would talk about your gas in bed and how bad that is for your partner. And it's just a thing that people do. But of course it isn't. And this is what surprises me. It really does surprise me that I totally lack any gas. So, yeah, let's go back to what my aspirations for the beginning of the year. So yes, growing the channel was good. Secondly, was learning more things. I like to be open-minded, and I thought that if there's any new things for me to learn, I would definitely learn from my mistakes as well. And I think one of the things that was often misunderstood, I used to talk about exercise not being essential to lose body fat, which is true, but I think people took it too literally and thought I was saying that you don't need to exercise. And well, you don't need to exercise, but if you want optimal health, then exercising you do need to do, because you got to move. Now, this is the other thing. It's not about intense exercise. It's not about going to the gym and lifting incredibly heavy weights to the point where, you know, you're absolutely shattered. If you're sedentary, if you're sitting in a chair and you're not doing much, not leaving the house, not walking much, just doing those things is a really good help. And just getting yourself out and about in the fresh air, that really helps. Getting out amongst people, grounding is really good if you can do that. But if you can only just slightly move, if you're very overweight, then start moving. Just start moving and start eating better, and that'd be good. Let's have a look at this. Selena, interesting about mushrooms. I had that effect eating Brussels sprouts on Christmas Day. Yeah, absolutely. Why are you eating Brussels? See, this is one of the things. Why eat Brussels sprouts anyway? They're horrible. When I used to like veg or eat veg, you know, to eat Brussels sprouts, you had to cover them in butter and add bacon. So basically what I liked was the butter and the bacon. And yeah, Brussels sprouts was not really a thing I ever liked on their own. Do you have an opinion on Gary Brecker? This is Blake. He's blown up online. His marketing plan was to make a few famous people healthy and monetize it. Maybe a strategy you could copy to spread the carnivore word. Must admit, I don't know who Gary Brecker is. If I looked him up, maybe I would recognize his face. So I could do that. Maybe when Jonathan joins us, because it's a bit rude to be doing searches when I'm actually broadcasting. Yes, Tom J, good evening. Good evening, Tom, and happy New Year to you. And that's good. All messages coming in thick and fast. Once a week, man. Has anyone been watching The World's Strongest Man? They have surprisingly big bellies and little muscle definition. Yeah, I think with The Strongest Man, it's not an aesthetically pleasing look. I think it's all about bulk, and there is strength there, obviously. You know, I didn't see it. You know, it's not really my cup of tea, but I think it's sort of picking up refrigerators and throwing them over hedges and stuff. But yeah, the big bellies, I think they eat ever such a lot of food, but it isn't necessarily the most nutritionally dense food. And I think most of them still believe in carb loading and all that sort of stuff. But it's not very inspirational, to be honest. And you can be strong and wiry. I've talked about this guy on Instagram who is incredibly strong and very wiry, very unassuming, and he does these sort of candid moments where he'll go over to these big burly bodybuilders who are deadlifting incredible weights and they're really struggling, and he's dressed like a janitor, and he goes in and he pretends that he wants to sweep up, and they offer to move the weight for him. He says, oh no, it's okay, and he just picks it up like it's nothing. And it's the reason it's a good thing on Instagram is because the reaction from the bodybuilders and the powerlifters is incredible. They just can't believe this guy who doesn't look muscly is incredibly strong. Now, and I had that years ago. I play the piano very badly. On my YouTube channel, there is proof of how bad I play the piano. And I had a guy come to when my first marriage broke up. We had a piano there, but I didn't have anywhere to put it when the divorce went through. So we had this guy come and take the piano away, and it was an upright piano. They're pretty difficult to move and very heavy. And he turned up on his own, like I say, a very wiry looking bloke. And I said, oh, I didn't know I had to help you move the piano and put it on your van. He went, oh no, I can do it on my own. And he did it on his own. He just had like this big leather cushion to sort of angle it onto there and then push it and move it around. But you need a lot of strength to do that, I can assure you. Did not look strong, but possibly one of the strongest men I've ever encountered. So another thing about this Gary Brecker, I'll have to look at this. Watch loads of interviews, and his channel got me into cold plunging. Well, that's good. Breath work, well, that's good. Red light therapy, that's good. And grounding on a regular basis. This is a guy I'm going to have to check out. But anyway, I mentioned that we might have Jonathan on. For those that don't know Jonathan, you're about to see him. I really want to thank you, Jonathan, for coming on New Year's Eve, giving up your time. Hello. Mate.
Yeah, hello. My pleasure. Quite happy to. I'm just at Sophie's, my partner's house at the moment. We've got 2 young children. So me going out gallivanting is not going to happen. Otherwise, we'll be watching a film right now and probably I'll be falling asleep during it. So I'm not missing out much.
Well, for me, that sounds ideal, actually. Watching a film, falling asleep 10 minutes in. That was a nice question about what am I looking forward to in 2024. I wanted to do a retrospective because I'm quite happy with the subscribers. One of the things I'd say about your channel is, and I've had it said about mine, actually, so I'm going to say about yours, is the content is fabulous and you really should have a lot more views. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to talk about your channel. And while you're doing that, I'm going to look up Gary Brecker. Yeah, tell us about your channel.
Yeah, so my channel name is Carnivore Muscles. You'll see on the screen here. I've been on YouTube now for roughly 14 months. I've managed to somehow pick up 6,000 odd subscribers for some strange reason. It's actually Harry Sopanos that sort of approached me and said, you know, you're quite a knowledgeable chap. You know, you've been on my channel just to talk about stuff before. Why don't you actually, you know, talk about bodybuilding on the carnivore diet? So Harry Sopanos was the one actually who initiated me going onto YouTube. Then I collaborated with the likes of Professor Bart Kay, who I've gained a lot of valuable information from, and also people just like that. Dr. Chafee, Sean Baker, Coach Stephen, of course, Richard Thomas, Nick Hull from at Former Fat Girl. I've met lots of people very like-minded in this space, very information-based, which I really like.
Richard Smith, by the way. You said Richard Thomas.
Richard Smith and Stephen Thomas. Stephen, Richard, would be here, but he's not. So he's having a time off. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is a weird thing because I've just looked up Gary Brecker. Now, Gary Brecker is good. Yes, I absolutely agree. And he was on Joe Rogan and talks about methylation and folic acid, grounding, cold therapy, Wim Hof breath work, and keto diet. He made Dana White healthy, which made him popular. Blake, that's brilliant. Folic acid. I mean, you're a bit, you know a bit about it. Jonathan, show us your knowledge about folate.
Yeah, how long do you want me to talk about it for?
Well, just a couple of minutes.
Okay, I can give you about 5 or 6 minutes. Maybe less. So we'll see. So folic acid is also called B9. It's essential for red blood cell production, DNA synthesis, and preventing neural defects in unborn babies. Especially important, therefore, during pregnancy, especially through the final 2 trimesters, apparently. It's probably important throughout all of them, but that's what they say. But I want to distinguish the fact that folate and folic acid are 2 different forms of B9. Folate has been converted from folic acid and is a usable, stable form which is taken up in the blood a bit faster. The carnivore diet doesn't really contain loads of folate, but doesn't necessarily mean it's absent of it. So if you eat eggs, liver, or even testicles, you're going to have a good amount of folic acid or folate in your diet. On paper, things like dark leafy greens will contain heaps of it, thousands of percent, you know, of your RDA supposedly. But the issue is the type, so the folic acid is not optimal. It contains oftentimes with anti-nutrients, lectins, phytates, tannins. They inhibit the utilization and absorption. They can also be destroyed by heat very easily, whereas if you have something which is cooked in the form of an animal food, such as fish or meat, eggs, a lot of the nutrients are actually retained a lot better. There is less titration because the cooking technique doesn't often involve water, which it does with vegetables, for example. Now, vitamin C is also in these vegetables and fruits and things, but that can also titrate out, which is a cofactor in the absorption of B9 into the blood. The same isn't true with animal foods, in which case normal preparation of foods, the steaks I mentioned, eggs, things like that, the vitamin C content doesn't actually titrate out, so you actually can keep intact more of the cofactor of B9. Vitamin C and glucose are found bountiful in plant foods and actually compete for the same GLUT4 receptor within the cells, which means there's basically a cross-inhibition effect, which almost nullifies the effect and uptake of vitamin C. Therefore, it's not really useful as an antioxidant in a, should we say, standard Western diet. Also want to mention the leaky gut aspect of it, the intestinal permeability, as a result of the bad diet, which might contain, lots of plant anti-nutrients, sugar, things like that. The body is going to be depleted of pretty much every mineral in some cases, because the body is in a somewhat taxed state. Outside of that, there are several drugs which can inhibit the folate absorption. People might not be aware of those, but there are quite a few of them. Alcohol as well can inhibit absorption. Basically, any substance which damages the liver will also impair folate absorption. It's important to note that the apparent blood test for it is not ideal in that it doesn't actually measure what is inside the cells or how well the body is using it. It just gives you a parameters of what the standard Western diet finds useful for their IDA. So it doesn't actually mean, okay, your levels are low on this bracket, this range, that you're apparently going to be absolutely unwell. I'll be looking more so at symptoms before I look at a blood test myself for that sort of thing. There's also speculation that people on the carnivore diet have a greater conversion of methionine to homocysteine, which is a role of that is apparent because of good B9 utilization. It's important for a plethora of reasons, and for that kind of effect, vitamin B9, folate, carnivore diet good, plant-based diet not great. You don't see many people deficient or showing symptoms of low folate in a carnivore diet, in my experience. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's a cracking answer. I put Blake's thing back on because methylation and folic acid or folate. The other thing's also very interesting. But on carnivore, methylfolate is something that people do supplement on, gets rid of their cramps. And I'm going to be very clever here, and I'm going to just tie this into the question from Tom. We'll go back to methylation in a second. Planning on getting blood work next year. Which ones do you generally assess for health? Which ones are useless? Right now, if you take a step back when talking about folate levels and say to yourself, right, okay, folate availability is low on carnivore diet. We should all be ill, but we're not. We're not ill. So you have to question whether these normative ranges for what you require are absolutely apt for this way of eating, and they're not. I mean, that's the biggest thing I would say, because maybe those people that have those sort of sicknesses, like gut dysbiosis and fatigue and trouble regulating red cell production, they've got low folate, but that doesn't mean that it's low folate that's causing it. It could be their very bad diet, as Jonathan has just said. If you're eating something in excess but you can't process it or absorb it, it doesn't matter how much you're eating. And I've had people with very low folate who are vegetarians, so I think I'm not saying it's irrelevant, but I do definitely feel that we've got to stop thinking in what is the mainstream's view on this? What level should I have? And I think we should look at every single thing we're told we need for health and think, well, we are equating this statement to people that aren't generally healthy. And secondly, what's the proof that someone on a carnivore diet needs folate? Because we don't have much folate in the diet, and I don't see much sickness. All I see is resolution of problems. And when we get into things like, methylation, which is not very well explained on the internet, just for people that want to know, it's just hydrocarbons, a little cluster of them. They attach to a protein, and they tell that protein to do something or not do something. I mean, it's very simple. And Gary Brecker did a brilliant thing about the fact that methylation is an underestimated function that we talk about when people have problems. it could be methylation that's causing the problems. Well, it's very rare that anybody on the carnivore diet, I think I can only think of one person off the top of my head that has really seen a big improvement in their health with methylfolate. And I've had plenty of people try it. So anyway, yes, I thought that was really good. We'll go back to the bloods, Jonathan, if that's okay. Sorry, I've sort of monopolised. But so which ones to generally get to assess your health? It depends what you're interested in. Now, on my website, I definitely have a list of bloods. So that's ukcarnivore.com. What I would say is the best ones I would say are, if you're looking at blood glucose, your HbA1c, but it's better to get your fasted glucose, fasted insulin, C-peptide. They're much better markers for your blood glucose control. So that would be what I would do. If you're looking at thyroid, I think you've got to get the full panel, which is TSH, and you've also got to get T4, free T4, free T3, T3, reverse T3, and TPO and TG antibodies. Because the problem is most doctors only want to get TSH, and that's not going to tell you everything that you need to know. Complete blood count is really good as well. But I promise you, Tom, if you just go onto my website, there is a bit about bloods and what to get. If not, just message me and I'll send it to you. So what do you think, Jonathan?
I think there's more useless or invalid tests than there are useful ones, funnily enough. And obviously the test is there. I think in some cases the test is there because they can measure it rather than that we should measure it. I think the ones you outlined are excellent. Obviously you've not been very expansive because obviously there's more of them, but I'd look at liver, kidney, testosterone maybe if you're concerned about that, a hormone panel if you're concerned about it. But outside of those, I don't think there's anything I'd really actually specifically test for unless I knew there's an inherent genetic disease of some sort, unless I had symptoms of something, unless I had some kind of deficiency in the past, perhaps a vitamin or mineral. Outside of that, I don't think there's many that are actually that useful, but to understand which ones would be useful, you have to identify, one, a symptom, a negative symptom, two, identify, how does that translate throughout the network of different blood tests you can have, and three, when you use the ailment, the capsule, the medicine, the whatever it is to fix that said deficiency or blood test issue, do you then feel better? That's what people don't realise. They look at the blood test, but they don't think the before and after, which is the key point. Ultimately, you want to feel your best and be as healthy as possible. So I'm certainly looking at that with people when I speak to them about any blood tests.
Yeah, I've just gone onto my website because we have technology. So yeah, I mean, the other thing is people think, oh, I'm going to fast for longer. Well, the problem there is you're not getting a test that relates to other people. So most people want to do their blood test because they are looking to see if their range is comparable to other people. So if you fast for longer, there's no comparison. And if you've had bloods before, you need to really fast. If you're looking at trends, you need to do the same fast, basically. So sugar related, like I say, fasted glucose, fasted insulin, HbA1c, C-peptide. Now, if you're doing your lipid panel, HDL, triglycerides, LDL, which is calculated and probably absolutely has no utility. But if you want to get into LDL particle sizes and fractions, that's good. You could do LP little a, you could do LP PLA2, which is an interesting thing because in mainstream they say this is really bad, but actually if you understand that it degrades oxidized LDL, it's a good one. It's not on the list because it's a bit nuanced, but we're talking, so I can say that. Thyroid, there you go. Selenium I've added there because a lot of the enzymes have selenium as a base. And if you're looking at liver, ALP, ALT, AST, and GGT. So those four are perfect if you want to know about your liver. There is more. If you want to know about kidney, blood urea nitrogen, normally on carnivore, that's going to be slightly higher because nitrogen is a waste product of protein metabolism. So it's going to be slightly higher. Nothing to worry about. Creatinine. And if you have an EGFR reading that you're worried about, that basically that's the filtration of the kidney, do a cystatin C test. And I've had people being told, oh, wow, your kidney is a real problem. Your level is 48. And when they did the cystatin C test, and I've got lots of clients that will back this up, their kidney function was fine. So also you've got to look at clinical presentation. These are just numbers that we're getting from people. Inflammation, C-reactive protein. So HS just stands for high sensitivity. That's a systemic inflammation marker. You can get localized inflammation markers as well. And then you've got the CMP14 Dutch test, CBC. So there's lots and lots of different things you could do. That is your most basic one. I'll just stop that screen share because it's highly boring. But yeah, I think the problem is, I don't know if you get this, Jonathan, but people get obsessed with the numbers rather than their own health.
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of the point I kind of alluded to earlier. So, the number is this, but how would you feel? Michaela Peterson, for example, about 1 year ago, she tested low for folate. In that time, she's managed to produce a baby with apparently no unusual or new symptoms of illness. So does that mean she's actually low folate? Was it low initially? Did she never test that before? Was that her baseline? There's too much to look at. So when people are like asking myself or you or Richard about blood tests, well, just speak to the right person who knows what they're talking about. Don't just go to a doctor, get a private test, look at the number. Actually, look at the number, print it off, email it, send it to someone that knows what they're talking about. I'd recommend actually going to Coach Stephen here if you do have that sort of issue. These ranges, like he said, are just normative. They're not normative to carnivores, so look at that as well.
Yeah, that's a good phrase. I'm going to steal that. I mean, yeah, qualified phlebotomist. And by the way, guys, I am writing a book about bloods, which will be out at the end of January. I was hoping for sort of New Year's Day when everyone's doing the new year, new you type of thing. But I wanted to get it completely perfect. And basically what it's going to do is tell you all about the most common bloods, what they actually are. So real basic sort of folate is involved in, is a coenzyme. It basically helps with the metabolism of amino acids. There's a good example. Now, actually, you could say, well, if folate is needed to metabolize amino acids, we've got tons of amino acids coming in and we're all pretty healthy. So is there a problem? Anyway, and it's going to look at things like the blood urea nitrogen and explain why you might have a reading that's flagged up and why it isn't necessarily a problem, because it's simply that you're eating more protein than the average person. Yeah, so let's quickly go back to the messages because it's New Year's Eve. Once a week, man. I agree. Both of your channels have amazing content. That's very kind. I don't want to forget Richard Smith out there, who is having a couple of days off. His channel is fantastic as well. So let's mention him there. Landers, not sure carnivore is for everyone. My brother quit because he was waking up every 3 hours during sleeping time. Question: would it be worth recommending a ketovore way of eating? Wow, that's an interesting question, because normally most people improve their sleep. Without knowing the person, it's really difficult to work out why that's happening. There could be some issues with adaptation. It might be problems with rendered fat, for instance, eating too late at night, not eating late at night. You see, this is why it's worth talking to the person. Because Richard, for instance, who we've just mentioned, he swears by eating late at night, whereas I find that really difficult. We're both carnivores and we're both pretty healthy. So I would quit too if I wasn't getting advice. If I was waking up every 3 hours during the night and I hadn't previously, I would think, well, this isn't for me. But if someone would explain to me, well, do you know what? It's an adaptation period. And when you come out the other side, you are going to feel as good as I feel now. Or, as good as Jonathan feels, or whoever has gone carnivore. I don't recommend ketovore unless somebody is really it finds it really difficult with his family and social situations to say, I want to be a carnivore. And if they feel like their relationship is on the rocks, it's not worth losing a marriage over. But I don't recommend it for health, put it that way. You got thoughts, Jonathan, on that?
Yeah, it's funny. Your experience has been the same as mine with the whole thing about sleep. I've met people on both sides of the fence. Oh, I thrive on a high protein diet, I thrive on a high fat diet. You know, eating close to bedtime, not eating close to bedtime. What I do notice is people that seem to benefit from eating later at night are people that are very, very, very active. So that could be a reason why Richard almost gets away with eating so close to bedtime. Perhaps their cortisol, on average, perhaps runs a little bit higher because they're high stress, maybe busy job. You know, I know Richard does a lot of physical activity, so that is obviously a stress to the system. Maybe therefore he needs to increase his insulin, his leptin, what have you, be fed to suppress his cortisol levels. So that's kind of my gist on it is the same as Stephen's. I can't really add much to that, but I would recommend a consultation with someone if you're absolutely stuck and you're thinking, wow, I'm spinning my wheels here and nothing is working. Try having more fat before bed. That is a surefire way to reduce cortisol if it is a stress-related issue.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things, actually. Cortisol will keep you awake. So stress, looking at your phone, something triggering you on the news, scary movies, all those sort of things can keep you up. Living Carnivore UK, good evening, Stephen. Good evening, Living Carnivore UK. I think that's a new person. Tom, awesome. Thanks very much. I did that mistake last time I went to get bloods. I fasted 18 hours. Next time I'll do 12 to 14. That's true, you see. And I get why people fast for longer, because they'll think, well, these will be better. But then you haven't got that benchmark. Now, if you're starting out on this journey, because you could be, because it's World Carnivore Month, tomorrow it starts. January is World Carnivore Month. And you want to do it that way, you want to fast for 18 hours and get to see what your body does when it fasts for 18 hours as a benchmark. Always then, from then on, if you're only looking at yourself, which is really quite a good thing to do, to be honest, just see what you're doing. As long as you do every blood test the same, you're going to be fine, because you'll see that trend, which is great. Blake, what can you recommend for people that struggle to get results in the gym? Oh, wow, we got carnivore muscle on. We couldn't get much better. Losing fat and putting on muscle being the goal. Kettlebell swings, Turkish get-ups, little cardio apart from short sprints. Before Jonathan launches into this, one of the nicest replies I've ever had to this sort of question was from Keto Savage. So big shout out to Robert Sykes, who was brilliant. And he said, if you're looking to lose fat and put on muscle, don't do it at the same time. And he's very old school. And I get that perfectly. Get your muscle on and then get yourself ripped. But let's see what Jonathan's got to say. I'm really keen to hear this.
Yeah, that's a brilliant question there by Blake. We could dive into it from so many different angles. I'd agree with Stephen for the most part. It's very hard to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. If you're an absolute novice to the gym, you probably could do it. If you're, for example, 30% body fat, you never trained in your life, well, yeah, you're going to gain a bit of muscle to keep up with the intensity of the gym stuff you're doing, the adaptation response. You're going to lose fat because you've increased your metabolic rate, increased your mitochondrial density, things like that. My kind of take on it would be to completely ignore Turkish get-ups, kettlebell swings. Sprints are pretty good, as long as you do them on a separate day, preferably, to actual resistance training. I'd always look at resistance training first. I was actually speaking to a PT in the gym today or yesterday, actually, and I was saying, you know, your PT friend over there, she gets this young girl who's been training for 6 months to do rear delt flies, dumbbell kickbacks, and all these sort of like accessory movements. Not that these are bad movements, but these are movements which are inferior to better ones. So, for example, if you looked at my ebook, any of my ebooks, Advanced Programming, Exercise Specifics, or Carnivore, oh god, I've done it wrong, done it wrong again, Stephen. Beef Up Carnivore Bodybuilding Bible. If you look at those ebooks, I'm always saying, you know, pick the movements that give you the best bang for your buck. So that's going to be, in terms of like safety, it's going to be a chest press machine, a shoulder press machine, a side raise perhaps, a pull down, a chest supported row, a leg press, leg curl, leg extension, calf raise, bicep curl, tricep push down. That's like 10, 12 exercises. If you just rotate those back and forth, maybe an upper lower workout, or just three full body workouts per week, that'll be sufficient to build probably 90% of the muscle that you'll ever build in your life without adding on the extra tricep kickback, the extra funny angle raises on a bench. They're all gimmicks, guys. Your best bet is just doing what works, and it's the muscles, it's the compounds that activate the most muscle groups. Be sure to get enough protein. If you want to incorporate sprints, make them your secondary endeavour at the gym. It's not your primary endeavour. the more muscle you'll build, the more fat you can lose. That's what I find to be true of everyone I work with. And as of this moment in time, I'm currently coaching a handful of clients. I think only one of them does sprints on a bike, and that's about once per week, maybe twice per week. And they're getting all the benefits that anyone else will in their fitness journey just by training a bit harder, a bit more intense, shorter rest periods, stuff like that. So, yeah, that's about as much as I can probably give away in a short answer.
Yeah, I mean, that is a short answer, because you could write a book about it, which you have.
I could.
Brief up, which is great. Let's go to the next question. This is really fantastic. But I agree with what you're saying there. I mean, just doing the basic compound movements is going to be one of the things to really get into. Living Carnivore UK. Good evening, Jonathan. So that's good. Right. Andy 828. Did you deviate from carnivore during Christmas? If so, did you have any adverse side effects? Yes, I did actually. But not at Christmas. It was yesterday. And we had all the family round, and my wife made a cheesecake, no bake cheesecake, just with a lot of mascarpone, and that was very nice. And it had lemon on it, which isn't carnivore, obviously. And she'd made it from scratch, and everyone really enjoyed it. And everybody really, really enjoyed it. Now, I am the same as Dr. Sean Baker. Sean Baker has publicly said, if cheesecake was healthy, he would eat it all the time. All right. Well, I can assure you, it isn't healthy. Certainly not for me. So I tried it. It was lovely. But this morning, it didn't love me back. So that was it. But I have been pretty strict. I sort of try to do lead by example. If I do have a slip up, and it is a slip up, I don't call it a cheat, because when you cheat in sport, you get somewhere better. You cheat to win. You don't cheat to lose. So I sabotage myself. So I ate it. It was very nice at the time. Did I regret it? No, because that is something I also say. If you do something and you do it consciously, that's a mistake. Just own it. Don't even look at it as a mistake. Say, I did it for nice reasons. It was nice at the time. And the next day I paid a price for it. And now that could be related to going to the gym. You see, if you have a really hard session, you're doing it for a right reason. The next day you can be a little bit sore, but you don't think, oh, I'm not doing that again. You learn from it, and you try to minimize the soreness. So that's what I do. I minimize any bad reactions by not doing anything regarding food that I know I'm going to regret. But at the time, I enjoyed it, and it was very tasty. But it also helped me to stay carnivore, because I think, right, that's why I'm carnivore, because I don't want to feel like I did this morning, basically. So what about you, Jonathan? Did you stray, as I say?
I strayed a little bit, yeah, I must admit. I'd say over the last week, I've probably had 5 meals, which you'd say aren't carnivore. They're still animal-based, but they'll be like breaded chicken, for example, breaded chicken breast, something like that. But yeah, I can seem to get away with it for the most part. Obviously, I'm not saying that, and I feel great with it. I'd say I still feel about 80% as good as I would if I was otherwise on my more strict sort of version of the carnivore diet. What I will say is I pretty much every 2 to 3 weeks I'll have a meal out with family or Sophie or just friends or something, and that'll just be a standard meal that you'd get in the restaurant. I'm not always going to opt for the higher protein option, but that's just what I seem to find useful and tolerable for me. My gut microbiome changes itself pretty much every 3 weeks roughly, so I've worked out a way that I can incorporate these things, because they're nice and I like some of them, rather than absolutely destroying myself by going completely cold turkey for months and months on end. Then by the time I actually have these foods, they absolutely wreck me. So I do get a bit wrecked from these foods, but not absolutely devastating by any means. But my main meal on Christmas Day was focused on turkey and lamb, pretty much 2 platefuls. Then I had the rest being just vegetables and stuff. So, not too bad.
Excellent. See, we're full transparency here. We don't pretend. Right, that was a good question. Now, Selena has put this in Welsh. No, her keyboard hasn't gone wrong, and it hasn't got stuck on the Y's and the D's. No way could I pronounce that. Now, I am Thomas, and my ancestry is Welsh. Yes, and many years ago, and Griffiths, yes, of course, is very well. My family, or my grandfather, who I never met, sadly, was researching the history of the Thomas family, and found that we were smugglers, and we were smuggling all the way from Italy. There is a bit of Italian blood in me. I've worked in Italy, by the way. Many people in Italy thought I must be Italian. But anyway, and he was so disgusted because it was that era, he's Victorian. So disgusted that we had these smugglers that were smuggling contraband from Italy around to the coast of Wales that he stopped researching. So yes, so that basically I can't pronounce. Richard can't speak Welsh either. I learned some Welsh phrases to surprise him during a live, and he didn't know what I was saying. But anyway, Bloodwin Nudwit pull up, which is Happy New Year. No accent whatsoever. But anyway, all right, let's go to the next thing. And she's saying thanks for the great content. Well, Selena might withdraw that after hearing that murder of that Welsh sentence there. Gosh, I believe that Own Your Own Labs guys are trying to develop baselines for people on keto, carnivore, and keto and other low carb diets. Will be interesting to see how that works out. Yes, I mean that's Dave Feldman's baby, I think. And I think this could be a game changer because that's very popular and they are sort of on that side of things. Definitely there needs to be more people, and I very rarely blow my own trumpet, but there very much needs to be people who are qualified phlebotomists or into the blood telling people that you need to look at it differently if you're a carnivore, because you do. It's really that simple. There are many readings that are just different on carnivore. Don't care what Mike the vegan says, because he can edit that however he likes and present some fake stuff on his channel. Anyway, right, Living Carnivore UK. I eat whenever I feel like it, which is good, which is not very often. I've just done a 48-hour fast, and it was a doddle. I'm sure I'm not eating enough. Well, that is one of those strange sentences where if you're not eating for 48 hours and it's a doddle, you probably are eating enough, or your hunger signals are not where they should be. So it's one end of the spectrum right to the other. Do you feel any other clinical presentation problems? Are you lightheaded? Are you dizzy? Are you tired? Are you weak? Do you have trouble concentrating? It sounds like an advert for some sort of medication coming up. But if you're feeling fit and dandy and fine and strong and vital, and your brain's working great and everything's fantastic, you probably are eating enough. So, and look at your body composition. Now, please note, I said that last because this isn't a weight loss way of eating. It's all about health and losing body fat, your body composition getting better, which can also be gaining muscle and bone density, which will put weight on you, but in a good way, is what it's about. And, the improvements in body composition is sort of like a side effect. I wanted to show Jonathan something, actually, and everybody else as well, because I think this is really interesting.
And I just want to let you know, Stephen, yes. I'm wearing the same shirt that I wore when I first spoke to you.
Right.
Yeah, just thought I'd let you know.
Thank you.
It's all right, it's been washed.
Yeah, that's good. Right, so yeah, for people that think your guts are going to be ruined, this is somebody who was 4-year carnivore very kindly said I could share this. And this was his gut score. And really, the lower the number, the better. And 0 is fantastic. So when he had his alpha diversity checked, these scores 0, 0, 0, 0, there is a 1 there. There was also a problem with the sample. 20% of the sample was damaged. So the old thing about, well, it's going to do your guts in, it's just not true. Not true whatsoever. And I've had a few people that have had that test done and always comes back with a great score. Now, I've also had people that are not carnivore, because I do rehab and I do bloods, so I don't always just see carnivores. And the ones that are problems are always vegans and vegetarians. When I used to do bloods and actually take bloods, on a regular basis, I had 2 people faint on me, both vegetarians. So just thought I'd tell you that. Right. Okay. What did you think about the not eating enough question, by the way?
Yeah. I think you answered it exactly how I'd answer it. Which scale are you on? Do you present symptomatic for bad stuff, or are you completely fine? Your body composition is stable at a healthy body weight. How do you feel? I don't know. I get this question a lot. It's quite vague. I think if they provide more detail or something, maybe next time we'll be able to sort of really get into it a bit better. But that's exactly what I'd be looking at. As the same thing Steve will be looking at.
Yeah. Do you ever get anyone doing the alpha diversity tests?
Not really, no.
Oh, right.
No,
Okay.
I don't. No, most people I work with are more. I'd say that they're more focused on like the body composition side of things. If it's the health stuff, it's more to do with like transitioning properly, which is just a process I go through a lot of people. But I don't get much in terms of testing specifically for that kind of thing. No.
Right. Okay. So let's go to the next comment. I think we've got Chris here. Let's have a look. Chris. So yeah, Happy New Year, gents. Keep up the great work. Let's have a look. There's a thing about adaptation here. Have you got? Oh, you're just messing about with your microphone. Sorry. All right. Let's have a look. Landa, thanks, gentlemen. It took me over 4 months to adapt. I think it was impatience on his part. Oh, we're talking about the guy that was waking up every 3 hours. If he is serious, I will point him in the consultation direction. I think that would definitely help. All right, great. Another question for Jonathan here. Once a week, man. If you're aiming to gain muscle, is it worth supplementing with taurine?
Yes. Long story short, yes, because it helps regulate your electrolyte balance. If you're dehydrated, it can help actually mitigate some of that dehydration. When I train, actually only taking maybe 200 to 300 milliliters of water in a session. So it tells me there's a hydration benefit. Helps lower your heart rate when you're actually training, which is useful in that you don't perceive as much exertion. What else does it do? I don't know. Helps endurance for the same kind of reason. I find it's quite a sparing kind of amino acid in that it helps your body just run more effectively. It's involved in many, many, many different mechanisms throughout the body. So it's not just the few things I mentioned. There's so many. Gut healing is one of the main ones that I notice. So regulating the pH of the gut. If your gut's functioning fine, you feel fine, you train better, you're more motivated. So it's very much a plethora of benefits from taurine itself. Highly recommend it. And I have a video which is something like 4 best carnivore supplements, and I believe they're all amino acids, I think. But that video is maybe 3, 4, 5 months back. Check that one out. If you can't find it, I'll link it to you for a comment section somewhere and go from there. But that talks you through all the useful things that I think are beneficial to people that train on a carnivore diet.
Excellent. That's really good. I won't put my all in because you answered it. All right. Peter is saying Happy New Year. A question. Any thoughts on high ALP, alkaline phosphatase, that is, with no liver or bone issues? It's worth keeping an eye on, Peter, but basically when you're looking at any markers in the liver, you need all 4: ALT, AST, ALP, and GGT. And that's because it's all about ratios. So if you're looking at a sort of biliary system blockage or something like that, your GGT will be up, and so will your ALP. So that suggested, that there's some sort of, call it, status issue. But if that's up and GGT is normal, then it's not a problem. So I think that's the thing about context. Obviously, it'd be great to understand why that's slightly high. And again, who decides it's high? That's the other thing. If we just broaden the conversation out to something which is maybe everyone can understand, when we talk about LDL being high, well, is it? Or is it actually normal? Is it where it should be? Because when you're eating plants, you get plant sterols that bring your LDL down, but there's still cholesterol in your body, but it's plant cholesterol. And when you take the plants out, obviously proper cholesterol, that's what I'd like to call it, goes back to its normal level. So, yeah, I think that might be something. If you want to send me all your bloods and we do a consultation, Peter, I'd be happy to go through that, actually. But always with liver, you want those 4 things. And the reason I'm over-egging that is because That very rarely happens. That very rarely happens. And you do need those other markers. ALT, AST is absolutely, pretty much nailed on as it's going to be tested, but GGT can often be missed. Right. Who are your favorite UK carnivore YouTubers? I only just discovered Carnivore Muscles channel and I love it. Good. And I hope people who haven't seen Jonathan before are now going to subscribe to him because he is great. I've listened to every episode for you and Richard on Spotify while I work. That's good. Who's my favorite UK YouTubers? Well, look, I got Jonathan on because I think his content's fantastic. Simple as that. And the same with Richard. I asked to work with Richard because I like his content. So I nail my flag to the mast and I get these people on. If you want to see some very entertaining YouTube stuff, Phil Escott is very good. Like Ben Hunt's stuff about the environment. I think he's really good. Dr. Rachel Brown, excellent. So you've got Rachel Ashby, Carnivore Fitness, fantastic. Keeps a light under a bushel, needs to do more. What about yourself, Jonathan?
I think everyone that we're prospectively going to have on Team G Carnivore, the live Q&A, is great in their own way. They've all got something unique to bring. I'd go to each one of you guys for advice on various different things for very specific reasons. I'd say out of everyone that currently posts on YouTube right now, I'd probably say I go to yours actually the most. Just mostly because you do pump out the most amount of content. But also find a lot of your stuff about blood testing, phlebotomy, and some of your more intricate stuff about blood glucose is quite interesting as well. So I actually like when you go into the details quite a bit more than a lot of people do. I like your presentation style and like the edits that you do. It makes it very accessible, which is helpful for some people that sometimes actually just watch podcasts, the text, the captions underneath. So I appreciate that. Next best would be either Phil or Richard. Either one really, but that's pretty much it really. I think we've nailed everyone there is.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing. My viewership is very much based in America, which surprises me. At least 50% of my viewers in America. Anyway, right, that was an hour. My computer's decided to die because I've just plugged in Rumble on my other screen. Now, if you want to carry on for half an hour over on Rumble with your questions, I'm just going to post the link in the comments. And you can join us on Rumble or join me. I don't know if Jonathan wants to do it. I don't know if he's set that aside, but if he wanted to, I'll be going over there in a minute and I can send the link. Or you could say goodbye now. What do you want to do, Jonathan?
If you send me the link, I'll pop on for maybe 20, 30 minutes.
Okay.
How does that sound?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And try and remember this question. Someone said, less sweating on Carnivore. Why? We haven't got time to do that.
Yeah.
Sorry? Go on.
It's a big Niev. Yeah.
Yeah, you know who asked that question. Go on, then what would you say very quickly before we wrap up?
He's asked me this before, and I've just said mainly because your body is just hydrated better. There's less stuff your body's trying to there's less toxins your body's trying to excrete through sweat, urine, feces. Body temperature is better regulated. You're not having in such a big bolus of food which is inflaming you, which can raise body temperature. So that's my kind of take on it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I think when you're eating glucose, let's get really basic. For 1 molecule of glucose, you need 3 molecules of water. Really that simple. So you're going to have a lot more water and you get water retention. Hence, you get carb face. These carb face, no carb face things on Instagram. And that's because you're bloated. So your body will excrete what it can. And it's probably trying to get rid of water, not salt, so that you sweat more. And this is definitely something I've noticed. I don't sweat anywhere near as much, if at all. So it's not because I'm lazy. I just don't sweat. So anyway, right. I will send Jonathan the link and I will thank everybody and wish everybody a really happy new year. And I hope to see you on the other side on 2024. What about you, Jonathan? Do you want to finish?
Yeah, thanks very much for joining us, guys. Subscribe to my channel. And if you're looking at Stephen's channel after the fact and you're not subscribed yet, why not? Do that immediately. Join us for Rumble also. We'll be continuing myself for an extra half an hour and Coach Stephen for the full hour over there. And the link is in the chat.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And I will